When we were learning about the HTTP methods, we have been creating a simple routing logic in the code. In this video, let's refactor our code. The reason why we need to refactor our code is because our logic, the routing logic, is based on the combination between method and the location, right? So if we look at the syntax here, we were using the method first and then the URL, which represents the location. But in actual routing in ASP.NET Core, the logic is reversed. It first tries to see which location the request goes to, and then it tries to see which method should be performed against that location. So it's reversed. So let's take a look at a diagram here. So we have a browser and we have a server. When a request goes from the browser to the server, it first needs to be routed to the endpoint handler, right? We talk about that sequence. So let's say we have this routing mechanism. It needs to identify the request to see it goes to this particular location or it goes to the other location. But this doesn't determine the endpoint handler. It needs to use the verbs. Okay, so if the request should go to the /employees location, then we look at the verb, or we can call it method, to determine which endpoint handling logic needs to be hit. Or we can say which endpoint handler needs to be hit. Same thing with the /positions. So we need to route the request to the /positions location. Then we look at the verb to see which endpoint handler needs to be triggered for this particular location. Okay, let's try to implement this logic by refactoring our existing code. Let's jump back into Visual Studio. Scroll up, and we see that if we collapse this, you can see that we are using our method at the first level. This is not so good because, as I mentioned over here, you could have different locations. Right? You can have employees, you can have positions, you can have departments, you can have many different locations. And to use location on the first level, more sense than using. So let's refactor the code. Let's copy this and extract that outside here. So far, we're only dealing with two locations. The first one is the root, and the second one is the employees. We didn't care about the root. When the request comes to the root, we didn't need to take care of whether it's a get, post, or put and delete. We have been distinguishing that under the employees location. So we can keep the code over here. But for this, we will need to take care of checking the method. So let's copy this and paste it directly in here. Okay. So if we're hitting employees and if it's a get method, then what are we going to do? We're going to execute this logic, right? So we can delete this part. And we need to delete this because we're already on the employees location. So let's remove this and delete this line, highlight it, and then Control KF to format it. Same thing with the post. Let's delete this, delete that, and let's Control KF to format it. The put, same thing. Let's refactor the code properly. Last but not least, the delete one, and then let's delete this. So from this refactored code, if we collapse everything, so we can see how many locations we have in our code. We have the root to take care of, we have the employees to take care of. So it's a better organization of our code. We know what type of business logic we're dealing with, right? We're dealing with root, we're dealing with employees. Departments, we know we're dealing with departments. If we have positions, we know we're dealing with positions. So this is better for writing the rest of the code. And let's give it a test to make sure everything still works. Let's run the code, and it is running. We're hitting our root, no problems with that. And getting our default employees. And let's go over to our postman over here. The get endpoints, when we run it, we have the default one. At the add one, we can add number 4, Tom Anderson, and we added that. Let's make sure to execute the get endpoint again, making sure that Tom Anderson is added. Update employee, update. Third one, so let's say we give Tom Anderson a raise. So we're gonna have 150K for Tom Anderson. Click on send, and let's try to execute the get endpoint again. Tom Anderson, number 3. We updated number 3 to Tom Anderson. So at least we see the changes, right? And last but not least, we try to delete number 4. And let's click on the send button. So employees deleted. Let's go back to get employees. Click on send, and we have all of 3 employees. We know that we have updated the third one to Tom Anderson. Let's refresh. We have Tom Anderson updated. All right. So that's our refactored code based on the location first, and then we try to distinguish the HTTP verbs, or you can call it the HTTP methods, at the second level. That's everything I want to talk about in this video. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, I will see you in the next one.